Yo, welcome to Fast Forward Mindset Motivational Podcast. I'm your host, Coach James. This is where we rewire your thoughts, reset your mindset, and fast forward your life. No more rewinding, just discipline, motivation, and the truth you need to become unstoppable. If you're ready to elevate your mindset and take control of your future, you're in the right place. Let's go.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hope all is well. So, y'all, my Arizona Wildcats did not make it to the championship. We'll see what happens. I'm not a fan of Michigan, and I'm definitely not a fan of Connecticut, UConn either. So, but I do have a favorite when I was growing up. As a kid, I used to love Michigan, the Fab Five. So that's probably the only reason why I would lean toward them winning is because I have a little relationship with the Fab Five. I'm talking Chris Webber, Jawan Howard, and those guys. So, anyways, y'all, don't use drugs to numb your emotions. And I know I say that sufficiently, but I mean it. Don't use drugs to numb your emotions. Never works out well when you do that. And if you have not followed the podcast, make sure you hit that follow button. When you hit that follow button, you'll never miss a moment to rewire the way you think. But y'all, growing up, I grew up in the 80s, the 90s, and all that good stuff. And so marijuana was a huge thing, especially when I was in high school. I mean, everybody was smoking marijuana back then, and it was totally illegal, but everybody just used marijuana. At least everybody in my school did. There were some kids who did some heavier stuff, but that's another podcast episode, not this one. But do not use drugs to numb your emotions because it doesn't work. It just makes things rough for you. But the story I was telling is that marijuana was big when I was growing up in high school. I had never tried drugs or any of that. I want to say as soon as I graduated from high school, then I got into dibbling and dabbling and things like that. And so I had a buddy come over and he was like, "Hey man, you want to try some weed?" And I'm like, "Weed? No, man, I'm not doing weed. I'm not smoking weed." And he was like, "Come on, man, just try it." And so I tried it a couple times and it was a really weird feeling. I didn't like it. I mean, he laughed and hit me up a couple days later. "Hey, you want to get high?" I'm like, "No, man, I didn't like it." Well, in time, he kept coming over, kept hanging out, and he's like, here and there, passing the doobie to me, and I'm kind of like, all right, man, I'm just gonna go with the flow. And so I hit it, and so it was one of those things where I started to really admire, and so I started doing it with him or without him, with him or without him. But it got to a point, y'all, to where I would use marijuana as a way to cope with my emotions. And I always thought that if I used marijuana when I'm struggling in life with my emotions, that it just made things better. And that was never the case. Don't use drugs to numb your emotions. Don't use drugs. Let me just say this. Let me say this. Using drugs don't, won't, and can't change your situation. It never can. Even though you may feel like it can, it does not. It may be a quick in the moment feeling that it gives you and you feel like everything is all right. But as soon as you come down, you got those same problems. So don't use drugs to numb your emotions. It never works. I got a friend. He was like, "Hey man," he goes, "Man, I've been a drug addict pretty much my whole adult life." And he goes, "Now I'm feeling all these different emotions and feelings and stuff like that I never felt before." And he goes, and they're really weird because I don't know how to control them. And he and I ended up seeing him a couple of weeks later, and he was like, "Hey man," he goes, "I'm doing a little bit better these days, but my emotions have really got to the best of me." And he was like, "Bro, what I think it is for myself is that I never allow myself to feel emotions because I always numbed them with drugs." And he goes, "Now I'm not using any drugs. I'm not an addict. Now I'm dealing with these emotions that I never tried to ever figure out how to control. And so now I'm feeling all of them now. And I buy that, y'all, because like I said, for years, for me, I would use marijuana to numb my emotions when I was mad, when I was upset, when I was angry, even when I was happy, right? And because I did that, it just got to a point to where it numbed my emotions. Well, when I got off of marijuana and didn't smoke it as frequent, then I started having to challenge myself with dealing with my internal emotions. And so I buy the struggle with that. And that is another point as to why we shouldn't use drugs to numb our emotions. And let me say this, y'all, we should never use drugs no matter what the scenario is. No drugs. I know people would always say, well, weed is not a drug. Weed is not this. It is. Why do you got to have a marijuana card, right? Why you think they just legalize it? Because if weed wasn't a drug, it would have been legalized. It would have never been illegal, right? So it is a drug. Using drugs only increases your addiction. That's all it does. It only increases your appetite for addiction. There you go. Appetite. That's what it is. It's an appetite. And so the more you use drugs, the more you increase your appetite for drugs. The more you drink alcohol, same thing for that. The more you drink alcohol, you increase your addiction for alcohol. And then when you increase your addiction for it, then your tolerance becomes higher. And so you have to use more in order to feel that feeling. You have to drink more in order for you to feel that feeling. And so using it does not help you. It only harms your mind, your body, your thinking, and your emotions, right? Drugs is never going to be a winner for you. There's only one drug out there that possibly will help you. And there may be more than one drug, but let me just say this, y'all. No drugs, but narcotics, when you in pain, helps numb the pain. That's a reason to use drugs. The doctor prescribe them. You don't take advantage of them. You use them like you're supposed to numb the pain, right? Especially if your pain is intolerable, right? Those who deal with being chemically imbalanced, sometimes your psychologist will prescribe you medicine to take to help you stay chemically balanced, right? Those are drugs. They're narcotics. That's really what they are. You should use those as the doctor has prescribed you to use them, and you should follow the doctor's guidance and instructions on how and when to use them, right? So those are the times that we should be using drugs. When a doctor is saying, here, these are for you, you should take these because you're dealing with this. Those are good. Nothing is against that, right? That is the only time we should be using drugs. So you really, really have to understand the impacts of how drugs numb your emotions. And if you've always been a person where you was always or high, you're never going to understand how it numbs your emotions. You're never going to understand how it impacts your emotions. I've seen people do some crazy stuff on marijuana and they turn around and be like, it ain't the weed. Well, what is it then, bro? Because I'm confused. You're not drinking, you just smoke. Right? And so never use drugs to numb your emotions, right? Newsflash, y'all. Drugs don't make you happy. It just increases your addiction. That's all it does. Doesn't buy you a new house because you end up spending all your money on the drugs. Can't buy you a new car because you end up spending all your money on the drugs. Can't buy you a lifestyle that is outside of that because you spend every penny you get on that. And some of y'all probably want to beg the difference, say, oh no, Coach James, I got my addiction under control. Yeah, until it's not in control no more, right? Everything is under control until you lose control, right? And at some point you lose control. There is nobody in this world that can tell me, oh, I got control of my addictions and I'm never going to lose control. No, you just haven't lost control yet. I'm not being judgmental of you, not being critical, but it's true. Y'all, drugs lead to a depressive state of mind. It does. Drugs leads to you to feel worse than what you feel when you're not high. And if you don't believe me, test it. Don't get high tomorrow. Don't get high for the next week. Don't do drugs for 2 months and see how your body feels. I guarantee those drugs aren't doing anything for you. You may think they are, you may feel like they are, but they're not. So don't use drugs to numb your emotions. It never works. Let me give y'all some pointers on how to manage your emotions. Because that's what we should be doing. We should be finding strategic ways on how to manage our emotions. If you learn to manage your emotions, you won't be so quick to run to vices that could help you numb those emotions. But it starts with us. We've got to learn to we've got to learn to control our emotions by way of strategic ways of doing so. Number one, think before you act. Think before you act. Don't do something without thinking about it. Don't answer a question unless you've thought about the answer. Don't react to something unless you've thought about how the reaction can impact you and others around you. Be proactive. Think before you act, right? There's nothing wrong with you saying, if this happens, I'm going to react this way because I'm preparing myself for this. There's nothing wrong with you being prepared. So think before you react, be proactive, think about it, analyze it. I'm not going to act this way because of this. I remember y'all growing up, and I was, like I said, back in my moments when I was enjoying my Mary Jane, I would react to things without thinking about them because my emotions were numb because I was high. It's the way I was when I was younger. Not proud of it, but I'm proud I went down that road so I could be sharing this episode with y'all today to don't use drugs to numb your emotions. If I would have never done that, I wouldn't have been able to have a podcast episode talking to y'all about why not to do that and what can you do to not numb your emotions with drugs. So number one, think before you act, be proactive. Number two, I just said it, practice stress management strategy. You need a stress management strategy and you need to do it quite often. And let me say it like this. If you do drugs every day, you need to practice your stress management strategy every day, 3 times a day. Because when you get weak, you got to be prepared. You got to be proactive, right? And when you get weak, if you practicing your stress management strategy a couple times a day, there's no way you're going to fail. Be consistent. So you need to meditate. You need fitness in your life. You need a massage in your life. You need some type of stress management strategy in your life to help you from getting overstressed. Because sometimes when we get overstressed, we try to find vices to numb our emotions. But if you're prepared, you don't need to do that because you're prepared. You already know that you had a stressful day at work, so you're going straight to the gym after work. You already know you had a stressful week last week, so you're going to get an hour massage, right? You already know that your Saturday night was one of a kind, so tomorrow morning you're going to get up and meditate so you can clear your mind and clear your thoughts. It's all in how we do things, y'all. You don't have to be driven by drugs. You don't have to let drugs drive you, right? You drive your emotions within yourself, right? Last but not least, don't do drugs, do love, do understanding, and do peace. If I can say don't do drugs, you can also say do love, do understanding, and do peace. That means love people, understand people, and find peace within yourself. If you find peace within yourself, you find peace, how to be peaceful with others. It's really what it comes down to, y'all. Don't use drugs to numb your emotions. Find a way to manage your emotions through a stress management strategy. And if you want pointers on that, send me an email at jewatki1@gmail.com, and I can definitely make some suggestions and give you some different options. All right. Yeah, I'm not hard to find. I'm on IG all day, every day. It's James Watkins at 40 and Fit Life Coach. Go check out my website. It's www.rewirethewayyouthink.com. If you have thoughts of struggling with suicide, thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else, please don't hesitate to call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Y'all, and don't forget to hit that follow button. When you hit the follow button, you never miss a moment to rewire the way you think. Hey, y'all, I'm Coach James. Let me help rewire the way you think. And as I always say, practice daily mindset rehabilitation. And that's my 2 cents in there, y'all. Peace.
Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. And remember, don't rewind your life, fast forward it. Until next time, keep moving forward. Hey, y'all, I'm Coach James. Let me help rewire the way you think. All right, y'all. Peace.